Hello, everyone. All right. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Let's get some music going while I'm getting ready. All right. Okay, how's everyone doing today? Hello, Luna. Hello, Alan. Hello, Mike. Hello, Paul. Hello, Luke. Welcome back. Hello, Alex and Ashwak. Hello, Kashab and Noel. Hello. Is it Hamey? Jaime? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And hello, Cabot. And hello to my two Arabic friends whose names I can't read. Welcome to my stream. Might as well, yes. We might as well get started. Might as well is almost like should. Ingai. Okay, so what are we doing here today? This live stream is called Mark's Musings, and musing is something that I like to think about. It's a topic, it's a concept, it's something I like to think about. So we're going to talk about some of those things. And hello, Belen. So let's see, what's on the list for today? Ah, here we go. Let's start with this one. Alright, are we ready to start? I hope. Alright. So, let's see. Today we're going to start with this quote, and I want you to tell me what you think it means. What does this mean? Progress is not linear. Oh, wait, let me make sure everybody heard that. Progress is not linear. What does that mean? Progress doesn't go in only one way. Okay, yeah, kind of. What does that mean, everyone? Come on, talk to me. Tell me what you think it means. This is a live stream where you are supposed to practice using your English to answer deep questions, to talk about deep things. Right? So write your answers. Okay, and maybe I'll bring somebody up to talk to me about them at some point. So what does it mean? Progress is not linear. Come on. Why is this important? Ruby says progress is a zigzag path, so hold on tight. Okay, yeah, that's better, right? It isn't straight. You'll find curves, ups and downs. That's right. Progress is not going proportionally. That's right. So sometimes when we do things, we expect things to continue on a linear path. Like, I'm not getting better, but you don't understand that learning is not linear and growth is not linear. So sometimes when you feel like your mind is not moving forward, it's because your mind needs time to absorb. If you forget things, like many people ask me here, how can I remember words better? You forget words because you don't absorb words, and you don't absorb words because you don't take the time to absorb them. And that's, again, a part of growth, is understanding that sometimes it feels like you're moving forward, but sometimes it feels like you're not moving forward. But that is still very important time. That's growth time. That's absorption time. And sometimes growth happens in ways we can't see. So you don't think you're growing. You don't think you're learning or improving, but you are. You just can't see it. Okay, so let's see. What do we have here? It's normal that you'll meet some difficulties during the process. That's right. Yes, growing is not linear. That's correct. Right. Plateauing, that's right. We talked about that word before. To plateau means to reach a flat place, have a flat area where you feel like you're not improving. Yeah. Progress is a continuous effort to be the best version of oneself. You need strength, courage, determination, and resilience and power. Right. Yeah. Good. So, yeah, that's where we start, is that you guys have to understand that the process of growth and the process of learning is one that requires you to have some faith, because you have to have faith that you're still growing even when it feels like you're not. Now, there are times when you're not growing and it's because you're not doing enough. But there are times when you're doing a lot but you feel like you're not growing. So I'm not talking about the times when you're lazy. That's different. I'm talking about the times when you're still pushing forward but you feel like you're not getting anywhere. Sometimes those times are actually important. You are making progress. It's just not progress you can feel. Okay? So that's our first quote for today. That's our first topic for today. Does anybody have any comments about that? What do you think about this? Any other comments before we go to the next quote? Nope. You can relate to that? Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you can. All right, let's try this one. This next one is not about learning, it's about communicating. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. What does that mean? George Bernard Shaw. Do you guys know who George Bernard Shaw is? He was an Irish playwright. He wrote plays. He was a political critic, and he was just an idea man, I think is maybe a good way to say it. Okay? And he wrote the play Pygmalion. If you've ever heard of Pygmalion, a very famous play, he wrote that one. He also wrote Man and Superman, and one called Saint Joan. And so this is his quote: "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." What do you think that means? The biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Come on. Use your mind. Tell me what you're thinking. Misunderstandings will take place in communicating. Okay. When people think they have communicated effectively, but they could be mistaken. The misunderstanding. Let's see. Anyone else? I don't want to give you guys the answer. I mean, I can't give you guys the answer because these are not these are questions where there is no right or wrong answer. There's just different ways to look at things, but I'm going to give you my way of looking at things. So, what does this mean? This means that sometimes when we talk, we focus on the wrong things to have communication. So, sometimes you are focused more on speaking louder, or you're speaking better with bigger words. You're thinking about how to choose your words and which words that will make you sound smarter, and you're using your voice more loudly. And so when you do that, are you trying to listen or are you trying to be heard? Right? So real communication requires that you have empathy, that you're listening, that you have clarity, that you're paying attention to what they're saying so that you can understand, right? And you have to slow down so you can listen to them, right? And it's not just about choosing better words or sounding smarter or speaking louder. All right? When you speak, are you trying to be heard or are you trying to be understood? There's a big difference. People can hear you. That doesn't mean they're listening to you. Listening and hearing are not the same. What's the difference between listening and hearing? Mora says every brain has one perspective and that is illusional. Okay, yes, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about just, are you paying attention? Are you really listening or not? That's really the question. Are you really listening? Do you really know how to listen? Because the truth is, only about, I think about 5% of people are actually good listeners. the rest of you, you think you're a good listener. But listening is a passive activity. Passive activities are things that we take for granted. And because we take them for granted, we usually don't pay very much attention to them. So, it's kind of like language. That's why some native speakers don't speak so well, because language is something that they don't think about and they take it for granted. And so when you take it for granted, you're not caring. You don't consider it very much, so it gets degraded. It becomes less, it becomes poorer. So, again, do you know how to listen? Hearing is a passive activity, but it's one that requires active empathy. Hearing is a passive activity, but it requires active empathy. So empathy is a feeling, but it's one that can be activated. It's one that you can actually employ. You can say, at this moment, I need to be more empathetic. Right? Sometimes we do that. Right? And sometimes when you're listening to somebody and they say something, you're thinking about what you want to say next. You're not really listening to them anymore. Right? Tina says, I'm a good listener, I think. Okay. All right. Well, maybe. You might be, Tina. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is that when is the last time you considered if you were a good listener? When is the last time you thought about listening more? When is the last time you told yourself, hey, I need to listen more carefully right now to what this person is saying? When is the last time you actually tried to listen well? Not many people do. Most people just listen, and it's a skill that they have and they take it for granted, so they don't usually employ it or use it well. You know? Is respect the basic thing that allows us to listen? Certainly that is a certain requirement, you know. You can't really have a good conversation with anyone if you don't have respect, right? At least at some basic level. So, however, there are plenty of people who I don't respect, but if they were to speak, I might give them the effort of my empathetic listening. Right? So even though I don't respect them, I will still try to listen to them. We'll see, you know, what they have to say. I still probably won't respect it, but at least I'll try to listen to it. You know? Eve says, when you hear someone, you can only hear his or her voice or noises. When you listen to someone, you pay attention to understand. Right. Yeah, it's kind of the difference between listening to the meaning of the words and listening to the sound of the words. Yeah. Tanya says, I'm a bad listener. People usually don't say something interesting. Well, life... Tanya, that's the paradox of interestingness. If everything were interesting, then nothing would be interesting. So when you say people usually don't say something interesting, of course they don't, because if everything were interesting, then nothing would be interesting. That's the paradox of interest. But, Tanya, occasionally, someone might have something interesting to say. Tina says, I will keep listening to them, though I may not agree with them. To a point. You know, I think that everybody does have a limit. You know, if somebody is speaking ignorantly without... well, let's put it this way. Listening is a two-way street. So I do believe this is important. If you speak to me and I try to listen to you, and you speak to me and I try to listen to you, but when I speak to you, you do not try to listen to me, if you cannot give me the same respect that I'm giving you, then we cannot have a conversation. Right? So, I think it does, you know, it's a reciprocal activity, conversation. It requires a certain reciprocal act of participation. Do you guys know that word, reciprocal? Thank you, Diego. All right, well, let's move on to the next topic, the next concept, the next musing. How about this one? That's right, Tina, reciprocal. That's correct. 就是倒数 or no， 我觉得就是相互的，对不对？So here's the next quote. The next quote is, we do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. Right? We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. I do that so that you'll remember the words. So, what does that mean? We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. Reflect on means to analyze or deeply think about something. It just means to think about it, period. It doesn't necessarily mean deeply, but it does mean to think about. Okay? Ornella says, and by the way, hello, Ornella. We learn when we reflect on our achievements, on our mistakes, on our choices. That's right. Yeah. If you run and fall down, and you don't think about why you fell down, then you did not learn. But if you run and fall down and think about, why did I fall down? Oh, I was going too fast and I tripped because my coordination was not good at that speed, so I should slow down. Right? So you have to think about your lessons. You have to think about your mistakes. And this is the reason why narcissists never learn. If a narcissist, they always think that they're right. If you're always right, then you can't learn from anything. Right? And this is why I say mistakes are not a bad thing. Mistakes are just an opportunity to learn. Right? Everybody's going to make mistakes. It's impossible to get through life without making mistakes. So instead of trying to avoid them, instead of doing that, you should just prepare for them and then contemplate them and learn from them. You know? That's right. You can have bad experiences, and after that, you reflect on it to not experience the same thing in the future. Although sometimes we do. Like, for example, like girlfriends and boyfriends, right? You break up and you say, "Oh, I'm going to learn my lesson," and then you do the same thing again. you know, um, it's pretty common. It's funny, Eve, because the problem is human beings are also creatures of habit. We're creatures of habit. So sometimes we repeat our habits just because they're a habit, not because it's the right thing to do. So sometimes we do repeat our mistakes out of habit. Bases, that's right. Why did I not do well last time? I can learn from this to avoid another failure in the future. Right. Every mistake is a lesson. That's right. Is it related to critical thinking? I'm not sure what you mean by it. Are you talking about reflecting on? Yeah, reflecting on things is like considering things. Okay, just to contemplate, to consider, to think about. That's what that means. Okay. And we mustn't forget to reflect on people we have met during our experiences. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. Um, Everyone has the same potential to learn lessons from life, but not everyone learns all the lessons. So, what that means is some people are paying more attention. Some people are going through life without paying attention. And when you don't pay attention, you might be making mistakes that you don't learn from. You know? Self introspection. That's right. Yeah. 看立面. No man is an island. That's correct. Yeah, good. All right, let's do another one. Let's see. One moment, I'm looking for the next good quote. Here's a good one. And this one's going to confuse you a little bit, but let's try it. All right, how about this one? To know that we know what we know, and that we do not know what we do not know, that is true knowledge. Let me say that again. To know that we know what we know, and that we do not know what we do not know, that is true knowledge. Nicholas Copernicus. What does this mean? To know that we know what we know, and that we do not know what we do not know, that is true knowledge. So this has a few different meanings. It could have many meanings. But one of them is that the more you learn, the more you see how much there is to learn. Right? The more you learn, the more you see how much there is to learn. Or I like to say, when you climb the mountain, then you can see further, and now you can see how much more there is for you to explore. Right? So by climbing the mountain, now you're able to see that there's much, much more to see. There's much, much more to travel. There's much more to know. Right? So that's one meaning of this funny phrase. But it's also another meaning is that sometimes we say, I know about that, or I know that thing. But you're mistaking familiarity with mastery. So what this means is sometimes we say, I know how to do something, but you're not really giving enough respect to that particular thing or field. So, for example, cooking. How many of you know how to cook? How many do you guys know how to cook? Who cooks? How many of you know how to cook? Tanya says, I'm cooking right now. Okay? Ornella says, I cook. Okay? Now, the question is, if I say, are you a cook? What is your answer? Or let me ask you, if I said, are you a chef? Are you a chef? So this means that some people, yeah, look, I cook, I love to cook, and I think I'm pretty good, but I'm not a chef. So I have too much respect for real chefs that I don't want to call myself a chef because I'm familiar with cooking, but I'm not a master. I'm familiar, but I'm not a master. Okay? But many people, we go around and, I know how to do this, and I know how to do that, and I know how to do this, but sometimes we overstep, we overstate our ability. We overstate our true knowledge and mastery of something. Like another example is when I used to, when I make records, for example, sometimes my band, we make records. We make music, right? And we record our own music ourselves. And so we have to run all the equipment, right? And usually that is run by an engineer, okay? A sound engineer, okay? But none of the people in my band, we would never call ourselves sound engineers. We have to do that work, but we would never call ourselves that job because we have too much respect for the mastery of that job. We know how difficult that job really is, and we are just amateurs trying our best. So what this is about reflecting on your own thinking. It's about reflecting on your knowledge and about understanding the humility of learning. It's about understanding the humility of learning. That the more you learn, it's funny. The smarter you get, the dumber you are. What does that mean? The smarter you get, the dumber you are. What does that mean? Anyone? The smarter you get, the dumber you are. What does that mean? It means that the more you learn about something, the more that you see how much there is to learn, right? So, for example, when you're learning a musical instrument, you learn the one chord and the one scale, and you learn one song. But then in that next year, you learn 10 more scales and you learn 100 more songs. And then you see the books for all the other songs, and you see that there are thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of songs. And the next year you learn that there are songs from this country and songs from this country and songs from this culture and songs from this decade and this year and this era. The more you learn, the more you see how much there is to learn. So the smarter you get, the dumber you are, because the smarter you get, the more you see, oh, look, wow, I don't know about that. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. Yeah, the dumber you feel. Right. Yeah. Let's see. Did I miss any comments? I think I did. Let me go back up here. Nagam says, being good at something versus being an expert. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A smart person can act foolish, but a foolish person cannot act smarter. That's true, too. Yeah, that's somewhat related. Mm-hmm. You're the chef in your kitchen? Well, that's true. You would be the chef in your kitchen. Because the word chef is a French word, and what does it mean? It means chief. Chief, like boss. So in your kitchen, Tanya, indeed, you are the chef. But being the chef is different than being a chef. That's right. The more you learn, the less you know. Hello, Lynn. Yes, but we always improve our field by learning more. Of course, I'm not telling you not to learn more. I'm saying that a truly good student understands that smart is a constant movement forward. So to be smart, you have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep trying to push forward, of course. But that doesn't mean that you know everything. We're just trying to talk about the importance of humility in learning. You know, I've been learning Chinese for 10 years, and I still only know this much. And in 10 years, I'll still only know this much. You know, no matter how much I try, it's just going to be, there's too much to learn. That's the nature of learning, you know? So, let's see. Wally says, when you start learning something, you start showing off. The more you get deeper, the more you realize there's so much to absorb, which makes you humble. That's right. That's right. Yeah. When it comes to knowledge, there is no finish line. That's right also. Yeah. Very good. Okay, good. Let's go to the next topic. Let's see. Let's try this one. Here is the next quote to think about. Your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. Your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds, by William Wordsworth. What does this mean? Your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. I only answer people who are listening to me. You are what you think. Yeah, that's right, Tina. You become what you think. That's right. So what this means is your mind is like a room. Are you filling it with garbage? Or are you filling your room with priceless artifacts that belong in a museum? What is the meaning of seeds? Seeds are the things that you use to grow plants, right? So when you want to grow a tomato plant, you need a tomato seed. You put the tomato seed in the ground and it grows into a plant. That is a seed. Okay? What you think you become. Your mind is a garden where thoughts bloom. That's right, Alan. Well said. It means the way you think could affect others also. That's correct. Yeah, of course. The way you think can affect others. But I think that what I like about this statement from Wordsworth is that it helps you to think about your mind is like a garden. Okay? I like to think about my room as my mind is like a room or my mind is like a garden. Okay? If your mind is like a garden, what are you growing? What are you growing in your garden? Are you growing good, useful plants? Or are you growing weeds? So now I want you to think. Think about your social media. Think about your social media and how does this sentence apply to your social media? Your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. How does this apply to your social media? Anyone? Come on. This is important. Your social media is a garden. What are you growing? So when I look at my social media, my Facebook page, for example, let's see, I scroll through my page and what's in my feed? So let's see, I have one here about the Wall Street Journal, just because it's news stuff. I have one here, this is EU Corner is a science page. Then I also have the Whimsical Pixie, that's a page for poetry. I have Tokyo Lens. I have a few different ones about Japan and Asian culture and Vietnam, and I have pages about history. I have pages about science. I have pages about math. I have pages about music. I have pages about art. I have pages about philosophy and ideas and concepts and technology. I have pages about learning and growth. So, when I go to my feed, it's a good garden. When I go to my Facebook page, it's not a bad place to be. It's a good garden. So I want you to think about that. Think about your own social media. Why? Because social media is what's dominating your thoughts today, right? Social media is how our thoughts are dominated. And advertisers are making you think things you don't want to think. And games and there are marketing is taking your brain away from you. People are marketing things to you and telling you they're important when they're not. People are marketing things to you that they're making you believe you should do or you should have or you should want, but they're not. They're just garbage. They're weeds in your garden. So you should be more careful about what you put in your social media feed and consider it a garden. It's a place that can influence you. It does influence you. So how are you being influenced? Why not at least manipulate the influence to be a positive influence? The majority, all of you are being influenced. All of you are being influenced by social media. The question is, how are you being influenced? And are you exercising any control over what you're looking at? What you're feeding on? You know? And are you planting good seeds? Do you find good pages and subscribe to them? And do you get rid of pages that are not good? When that page comes up that talks about the Kardashians, do you look at it or do you get rid of it? That's a weed. Anything talking about the Kardashians is a weed, I assure you. Right? These pages you follow are like seeds that make you grow because all of them are useful. That's right. That's what I'm saying, is that if I'm going to be influenced, I at least go ahead and influence myself in ways that benefit me as much as possible. Okay? I'm human. I'm sure there are a few pages I've subscribed to that are frivolous, not important, not valuable, maybe a weed or two, but not many. Filter the content. And I like to call it catering your feed. Or now you can call it weeding your garden. Weed your garden. Weeding means pulling the weeds out. I have to weed means I have to go pull the weeds out. So weed your garden. Weed your garden. All right. Let's see. How about this one? Here's the next one. This is a really good one. Patience is not simply the ability to wait. It's how we behave while we're waiting. Patience is not simply the ability to wait. It's how we behave while we're waiting. What do you think about that? Come on. Thoughts? Thoughts? You are patient when you are resilient and master your anxiety. Okay, maybe. Sometimes anxiety is the reason for impatience, but there are many reasons for impatience. Impatience is... patience itself. To be patient, in a way, is kind of like walking on a tightrope. It requires concentration and balance, right? To have patience requires concentration and balance. You have to walk on the rope and balance yourself, right? But many people, when they're trying to be patient, they're not trying to balance themselves or concentrate. Raymond says, I think patience is a sort of skill and everyone doesn't have this skill. But, Raymond, it is a skill. You are correct. And not everyone does have this skill. You are correct. But it is a skill that can be worked on, but most people don't. Patience is a skill that you should practice. I do. I remember learning this a long time ago. Some people, I think, maybe they think I'm pretty impatient, but some people think I'm pretty patient. And I do remember working on it. I remember telling myself that I don't want to be like that guy. Like I would see somebody who's impatient and I would say, oh, I don't want to be like that. I don't like that. When I see that, I don't like that. So I started using all kinds of techniques to help me try to be more patient. Breathing, counting, listening in different ways to try to listen better. Deliberately trying to do nothing. When's the last time you did nothing? Nothing. Like nothing at all. When is the last time you did nothing? When is the last time you did nothing well? So why do I say you should practice doing nothing and practice doing it well? Because we get bored. Human beings today have no patience. Human beings get bored like that because of social media and TV and commercials and the way things are trained to make you think only in small bits, right? Everything is fast and quick and it happens, and if it's not fast and quick and immediate, then you have no patience for it, right? So patience can be learned by training yourself to be okay with doing nothing. You can train yourself with to be okay with just like, okay, I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna just be here for a minute. That's why waiting in line is an excellent activity to practice. Everyone has to wait in line, but everyone waits in line differently. Some people get really annoyed when they wait in lines. And some people are, whatever, it's okay, no big deal. Take your time, right? Sometimes I'll be at the grocery store and I'll see somebody who's in a big rush, and I'll let them go in front of me to check out their groceries, to buy their groceries. I'll let them go in front of me. Why? Because they're in a big rush and I'm not, and it's a good way to just practice patience. Just let somebody else go in front of you. It's not the end of the world, So, patience should be practiced. That's the point. Patience should be practiced. You should find ways to practice patience in your daily life. And if you don't have patience, let me tell you what patience is. How many of you watch TV shows like, have you seen the TV shows about surviving in the woods? Have any of you seen like the TV shows where they put somebody out in the middle of the forest in the jungle and they have to survive by themselves? Have you seen those? Right? And do you know what I find so funny about those shows? Anybody who has ever spent any time in the woods knows one really important truth. How do you hunt for deer? Let me ask you a question. Do you guys know how to hunt for deer? How do you hunt for deer? Do you go look for the deer? Do you go walking around and looking for the deer? No. No. To hunt deer, you sit in a deer hide, they call them. It's a hide. It's like a it's just a little box that's hidden with branches that the deer can't see you, and you're inside there. And you are sitting there in your deer hide for hours and hours and hours, quietly sitting there waiting. You wait for them to come to you because they will. They will come. If you are quiet and they don't know you are there, they will come. So when I watch those survival shows, I always find it hilarious because these people always go out and look for things, but they don't just wait. Because if they could just sit and wait, they would find something to eat. They would see something they didn't notice before. Do you know why they don't do that? Why don't they do that on the TV show? Why don't they do that? They don't do that because it's not good TV. It's not exciting. TV wants everything to happen like now, right? So they don't have the time to wait. You know, they don't want to just watch somebody sit there and wait for something to come to them. They make them go out and look for it. But the point is that, here's my point, that sometimes in life, because you didn't have patience to wait, you miss your opportunity. You think you're supposed to go out and look for something, but because you're out looking, you're not really paying attention for the things that could just come to you. You're not patient. Patience sometimes will bring you the things you want. Here's another example. How many people come into my stream and they come into my stream, they don't wait or listen to what I'm doing, and they just say, "Can you answer my question?" Or they say, "Can I come on stage and talk to you?" And if I don't talk to them and I don't answer their question, what happens? What usually happens? They leave. That's exactly right. They leave. So, because they didn't have patience, they might miss a great lesson. They could have listened. They could have been patient and just listened. And maybe they would learn something great. But because they had no patience, they missed out on the treasure. They missed out on the opportunity. That is life. Life is kind of like deer hunting. If you don't have patience to wait for the deer to come to you, you will never catch one. So, what if they have ADHD? I have ADHD. Mora, ADHD is real, but it is something that you can learn how to adapt to and manipulate in positive ways. And you should recognize when you have your ADHD tendencies. It's important to recognize them and try to improve upon them. You know? So, even a person with ADHD can learn to have patience. Even a person with ADHD can learn to have focus. As a matter of fact, most people with ADHD actually can focus very, very well. They have an ability to hyper focus, but it's just not something that they control very well. They don't control it very well. So, again, the point is are you really trying to learn, or are you just here to be served? Some people are not here to learn, they're just here to be served. They just want their question answered, and if they don't get their question answered, then they have no patience and they leave. They're not really there to learn, you know? But I think almost anyone, if you've watched my streams a couple of times, if you've seen maybe 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 of my streams, I think you'll recognize that if you have patience, there is a lot you can learn here. But some people have no patience. You know? Raymond, you're not like those people. You did come in the room and you did ask a question that wasn't on the topic today, and most people would leave, but you stayed, and I applaud you for that. That's good. Congratulations for having the patience to stick around to see if there's something that can be learned. Instead of just being impatient and not getting your answer, so you leave, you stayed. That's good. I applaud you for that. Okay? Good for you. Okay, so learning doesn't move at the speed of your impatience. I always like that quote. Learning does not move at the speed of your impatience. Let me type that for you here. Learning doesn't move at the speed of your impatience. It moves at the speed of your curiosity and your willingness to stay. Some of this is stuff that is going in my book, I think. One chapter of my book. So, learning doesn't move at the speed of your impatience. It moves at the speed of your curiosity and your willingness to stay, to sit, to absorb, to trust that even in if your specific question isn't answered right away, something valuable might still be unfolding. Here's the rest of the quote. Sorry, I didn't realize it got cut off. There's the rest of the quote. There. That's right. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's right. Yeah, but again, how did I learn patience? Let me tell you how I learned patience. Somebody mentioned fishing earlier. Fishing is one of the first ways I learned patience. My father took me fishing when I was young, and at first I hated it, but then I learned to love it because I learned to love the anticipation of waiting for something to happen. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but guess what? The beautiful thing about fishing is if nothing happens, when I go fishing, even if nothing happens and I don't catch any fish, do you know what I do catch? What do I catch if I don't catch fish? That's exactly right, Jack. Peace. That's what I catch. I catch peace. I'm in a beautiful natural area. I can see birds flying in the sky, and the wind is in my face, and the sun is coming down, and the water, you can hear the water moving down the river, and there's a deer, running by over there. Why do I need to do anything? Why do I need to do anything? It's beautiful. Enjoy it. Right? I also learned patience by playing the game chess. Chess is a good way to learn patience and logic and strategy. You need to have patience to play chess. Um, yeah, so there are many, many ways to learn patience, but cooking is another way to learn patience. Yeah. You guys are missing the point. You guys are missing the point. When you go fishing, you don't always catch something. That's why they call it fishing and not catching. So when you go fishing, sometimes you don't catch any fish or crabs or shrimp or crawfish. No, but you always can catch peace and quiet. Peace and quiet. And that is a beautiful thing. Actually, I maybe I'll go fishing today. It's a beautiful day. I don't have that much to do later today. Let me look and see how high is the river today. One moment. I haven't been fishing this year. Let's see. Little Miami River height. Ooh, it's too high. Darn. Okay, so when will it be lower? It will be lower. Hmm. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. All right, did I miss anybody over here? Hello, Flavia. Hello, Samira. You're tired of studying. Don't I get tired of these live streams? I do sometimes. I do. Um, but I have to constantly try to find new ways to keep myself interested and constantly find new ways to try to keep it new and fresh and interesting. So that's why I do this stream. This stream is new. This stream of Mark's musings talking about deep concepts and deep ideas for conversation. That's a new one, and this is for me. This is for me. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to, because uh, sometimes I'm here for me, not for you. So I'm glad you like it, Fluffy. Um, all right, I think we have time for maybe one more. Let's see here. Take care, Eve. Can I make another stream about ADHD? Uh, I don't know if I can do that, Mora, because I'm not an ADHD expert or anything like that. I have ADHD. I have struggled with it since I was a boy, but I've learned how to deal with it somewhat. I won't say I've conquered it or overcome it, but I have learned some strategies that sometimes are useful and helpful. Um, but I do know this. I do know that ADHD is not all bad. ADHD is just a natural response to the fact that human beings were for thousands of years human beings didn't sit still. For thousands of years human beings moved around almost all day. You know, or we moved when we needed to, and we needed to a lot. Um, so when you take humans and you put them in a classroom and you sit them in a desk and you make them sit there for hours and hours and hours at an office or at a desk in a school classroom, um, you're forcing them to do something unnatural. So Mora, something that I learned was really funny. One of the first things I learned about my ADHD is that when I pace, if I pace, then I can think better. So if I have to sit down at a desk and try to do my homework, sometimes I can't do it well. But if I hold it in my hands and I walk back and forth in the room as I'm reading it, I can do it better. And there are reasons for that. There are neurological reasons that your ADHD can be distracted. So what is ADHD? It's distraction. But you can distract your distraction. So when you walk or pace or tap your feet like this, shake your, whatever, do some kind of a movement, right? When you do some kind of a movement while you're thinking or talking, it distracts your brain and actually allows you to reach a place where you feel like you're more in control. So that's why I love drums. Because when I play drums, I have my right arm, my left arm, my right foot, my left foot, all going at the same time. And that's wonderful distraction, physical distraction. And when that happens, my brain is suddenly free and I can think in ways that you like, just completely clear, total clarity, and ability to look at problems totally differently. So ADHD has actual value. Sometimes it's good to have quick thoughts, agile minds. The river today is about 7.5 feet tall, but I need it to be down at about 6 feet tall for me to go fishing. Okay, let's see. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's just a disorder where it's hard for you to concentrate. Yeah. I learned how to concentrate when I went fishing. I learned how to concentrate and to be patient when I learned chess. I learned how to concentrate when I learned how to meditate. I learned how to concentrate and relax and be more patient when I did gardening. And hiking. Many different activities can help you learn how to do patience. But an activity cannot teach you something if you are not trying to learn. So when you go fishing, you must go fishing with the purpose of patience. When you cook, you must cook with the purpose of patience. When you go hiking, you must go hiking with the purpose of patience. It's a skill. You have to develop it, and you can't develop it if you're not thinking of it, if you're not intending to do that. That's right, you have to have intention. You have to have purpose. So you can't gain patience if you don't think about trying to gain patience. Okay? It's a skill you must develop. Pomodoro system is a good one too, yeah. There are many systems of activity that are supposed to help you with that. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think that might be... let me see. I think I have one more I want to give you today. I've got two memes I'm going to show you that I think are good. Let's look at them very quickly. Let me send these to myself here. Let's take a look at these very quickly. And this will be it for today. So the first quote we're going to look at is one from Aristotle. which I only recently found out that the pronunciation of Aristotle in English is actually really, really terrible. Um, it should be pronounced closer to Aristoteles. Uh, and I only found this out because of a famous American actor from the 1960s named Telly Savalas. Telly Savalas was a very famous actor. He had a bald head and he had this deep voice, and he was, a very famous actor in movies then. And his name was Telly, and they were asking him about his name, and he said, "Oh, well, it comes from Aristoteles, which was the way to pronounce the Greek Telly, Telly. There's the Telly in it, right? So, um, yeah. Anyway, so let's look at the first quote from Aristotle, Aristoteles. Uh, or maybe I may be pronouncing it wrong, but anyway, here we go. Here it is. If you can't read it, then I will try to read it for you. You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor. Next to honor, and that's very important. Anything done without honor is not anything done that's worth doing. That's a very important thing to consider today, because there are many, many, many people today, in the news in particular, who have no honor, and that's a problem, and that's the reason why they make the moves they make. When you have no honor, the way you think is very different. So, you will never do anything in this world without courage. You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor. You must have courage. So what is courage? Let me ask you that. What is courage? What is courage? Anyone? What's your definition of courage? Ornelas says the desire to go beyond. Doki says do what you think is right. Ali says taking risks. Vincent says ambition. Nagam says doing something despite fear. Nora says the ability to do anything in life. Overcoming your fears, doing something you're afraid of. Right. So fear, that's the key part of it, right? So some people think that bravery and courage means not being afraid, but it's not true. No. To have bravery or to have courage means that you are afraid, but you act anyway. You are afraid, but you act anyway because you know you must. You know you must. Because it's honorable. Right? That's why honor is so important. You can't have courage without honor. Yeah. So, we all get afraid. We all have fear. But in life, you have to have courage. The courage to overcome your fear and act anyway. Okay? So that's the first one. This great quote here from Aristotle. And also, I like this one. I just found this one, and I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a little simplistic, but I think I like it, though, still. Here's the next one. You have 3 currencies: knowledge, time, and money. When you need one, use the other 2 to get it. I kind of like that. So if you don't have money, use your knowledge and your time to get money. If you don't have time, use your knowledge and your money to get time. If you don't have knowledge, use your money and your time to get knowledge. I like that. I like that. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. When you need one, use the other 2 to get it. You're a bit confused. Why are you confused? If you don't have money, then you should use your knowledge and your time to get money. If you don't have knowledge, you better get some, right? We need to have all of these things, but that's why knowledge is so important, right? Because knowledge is the one thing that can be gained without, can you gain time? You can't gain time. Can you gain money? You can, but it requires effort, right? And intelligence, usually. So that's why knowledge is so important. Because if you have knowledge, you can get the others, right? So if you don't have money, but you have knowledge and you have time, then you can get money. If you don't have time, then you can use your knowledge and your money to get time. If you don't have knowledge, then you use your time and your money to get knowledge. Okay? You can buy time with money. Not last I checked. If you could buy time with money, then no one would be dead. People would just spend money to live forever. So, you can buy the illusion of time. You can buy the illusion of time, but you can't actually buy time. Time doesn't actually exist. It's a construct, but it's a construct that humans use to accomplish things. Okay, so there we go. That's going to be it for today, guys. I've been here for almost an hour and a half. I think that's a good place to stop. That's a good place to stop right now. Let me go over here and check on my crew over in YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't followed me yet, you can go here to my website. Go to my website, subscribe to my website. If you want to study English, everything you need to study English is on my website for free. Okay, so everything you need to study grammar is on my website. Everything you need to study vocabulary, reading, writing, listening, speaking, IELTS, TOEFL, everything you need is on my website. So go to my website. If you want to follow me on YouTube, you can go to @AFIEC English. If you search for this, you will find me. This video right now is going to be uploaded to YouTube as soon as I finish here. Okay, so if you want to watch this again, you can. Go watch it on my YouTube channel. Yeah. For example, if you want to go someplace, if you go with a plane, it will be quick. Yes, Jason, but if you go with a plane, it will be quick, but you won't have the benefit of the experience of seeing everything that you would if you drove, or walked, or rode a bike. Knowledge. So sometimes, yes, you can fly there and get there faster, but you get there with less knowledge. Driving, or walking, or running, or biking will take much longer, but will gain you much more knowledge. You're free to disagree. That doesn't mean you're right, but you're free to disagree. Okay, I gotta go. I'll see you guys next time. When you are traveling, you have the ability... Yeah, that's not what I said, Becca. What I'm saying is... For example, Becca, when I was a boy, some people went to go to vacation on summer vacation, and some people they would drive to Florida, and some people they would fly to Florida. If you fly to Florida, you get there faster. You get there in a few hours, you're there. But when we drove all the way to Florida, we saw all the things on the way to Florida, so it took more time, but we gained more knowledge. Okay, so of course you gain knowledge when you fly or when you drive, but you get more knowledge when you drive. It all depends on what you cherish when you're gaining experiences and the knowledge. Well, that's semantic. That's semantics, Becca. We're talking about general concepts of if you don't have money, use your knowledge and your time to get money. If you don't have time, use your knowledge and money to get time. If you don't have knowledge, use your time and your money to get knowledge. That's not a complicated concept. It's actually quite plain, and we all do it. But it's good to think about. It's good to think about. Okay, I must go. I will see you guys next time. Take care. I'll be back tomorrow. Okay? So come back and see me again tomorrow. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening wherever you live in the world, and don't forget to be a language warrior. I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.